1 Timothy chapter 1, verses 3 through 11. This is God's word. As I urged you when I was going to Macedonia, remain at Ephesus, so that you may charge certain persons not to teach any different doctrine, nor to devote themselves to myths and endless genealogies which promote speculations, rather than the stewardship from God that is by faith. The aim of our charge is love that issues from a pure heart and a good conscience and a sincere faith. Certain persons, by swerving from these, have wandered away into vain discussion, desiring to be teachers of the law without understanding either what they are saying or the things about which they make confident assertions. Now we know that the law is good if one uses it lawfully, understanding this, that the law is not laid down for the just, but for the lawless and disobedient, for the ungodly and sinners, for the unholy and profane, for those who strike their fathers and mothers, for murderers, the sexually immoral, men who practice homosexuality, enslavers, liars, perjurers, and whatever else is contrary to sound doctrine, in accordance with the gospel of the glory of the blessed God with which I have been entrusted. This is, I think, a third message on this passage, and we are going to focus on verse 5. The aim of our charge is love. How are you doing with love these days? We get caught up in making money and acquiring things with that money because we think that that will make us happy. But is it possible to be happy without love? What will it be like to live in a mansion without someone you love? What will it be like to travel the world and see all the marvelous wonders of nature and man's civilization without someone to share that experience? It is hard to imagine life devoid of love. Think about all the love stories, love songs, love poems, and romantic plays and movies that have been made and are being made every day. Why is love such a universal and constant theme in the minds of man? Because love is our universal and deepest longing. If love is supremely important to us, it is because God wired us that way. God made us in the image of God, who is love, 1 John 4:8. Think about all the commandments God has given to us. They're essentially about love. Loving God, which is the greatest commandment, and loving our neighbors as ourselves, which is the second greatest commandment. Then why is it that we have such a hard time loving others, even the ones closest to us? And why is it that even when we do love others, our love comes out all wrong so often? Love is more than just a pleasant sensation we get when we look at something beautiful or someone who shows unexpected and extraordinary kindness to us. Love is more than mere tolerance. Love is more than just a feeling, though not devoid of emotional engagement. Love is more than a sense of duty, though never negligent of one's duty. We all want love in our lives, but frustratingly, it remains an elusive rainbow that seems always to be a step away. Love is hard to get, and it is even harder to give. In today's passage, verse 5 reminds us that the goal of pastoral ministry is to cultivate true love in its members. In doing so, it articulates what true Christian love is. Love that issues from a pure heart, a good conscience, and a sincere faith. So today, let us reflect on the nature of true love. And I hope that we will let the beauty of this love motivate us to love God and love others more deeply. To truly love the way God delights in and approves of, we must have a pure heart. What is a pure heart, and what does it have to do with love? According to the Bible, the heart is the center of man's inner being. It is not only the center of our emotions, but also of our thoughts, desires, and volitions. To be pure is to be clean, free from any contamination. Water can get contaminated by toxic chemicals dumped into it. Air can be contaminated by smog. Then how does the heart get contaminated? The primary contaminant, according to the Bible, is sin. What happens when a lake is contaminated by toxic chemicals? The lake cannot be what it's supposed to be. People and animals cannot drink from it without getting sick. Fish and water creatures cannot live in it. It is no longer a safe habitat for living creatures where they can live and thrive. It becomes a foreboding graveyard of death and sickness unto death. Similarly, sin contaminates the heart and wreaks havoc and destruction in the soul of man. By its presence, sin makes us incapable of truly loving. We may offer ourselves to others in the name of love. But you see, our love contains the deadly toxin of sin. Whatever pleasure we can bring to others through the deeds of our sin-contaminated love would be no more than a drug-induced high, a fleeting pleasure followed by an addiction that can kill you. That's the problem with the love of the world. How can sin bring about such devastation? Sin drives a wedge between God and us. And what happens when we are severed from God, who is love? As you have heard many times before, to be made in the image of God is to be made with a God-shaped hole in our souls, which God alone can fill. God's presence as the God of love in our soul is what activates, motivates, and energizes our love. But if God is not there to fill that void, we become a black hole of insatiable appetite, because the infinite God alone can fill that void. If He's not there to fill that void, what can fill it? Nothing. And that is why we are never truly content, no matter how much stuff we acquire for ourselves. If so, can we love others apart from God? If God is love, and we are severed from God on account of our sin, then we have no true love. Whatever form of love we have or practice is but a fake. Everything we do in the name of love will be negatively affected by our need to fill that void. Whatever love we give or practice will be ultimately about ourselves. What we can get out of the relationship rather than what we can contribute in that relationship to others. How it makes us feel, not what is good to others. How we are perceived by others, not what good it does. Should we be surprised? Sin distorts everything it touches, including love. It turns love into lust. Oh, what a world of difference exists between love and lust. Love seeks the good of others. Lust is self-centered in its orientation, driven by the desire for pleasure, possession, and power to control. Lust just takes and takes because its appetite is insatiable. It cannot just love for nothing. It always expects something in return. If it gives an inch, it is only to take a mile. Love is rightly ordered. It is directed to its proper objects according to their respective measures. Lust, on the other hand, is directed to illegitimate objects. Even when it is directed to proper objects, it is inordinate, out of balance in its desires. When we give ourselves to lust, we are consumed by our desires and we lose all sense of balance. It's harmful and destructive for ourselves and for those we lust after. Think about tiger parents. Think about stalkers. Think about all the people who engage in all kinds of sexual deviations, as we see in the later part of today's passage. It even wants to kill the parents. Love seeks meaningful relationships, but lust craves immediate physical gratification. Love is constant and lasting. Lust is short in its duration. It burns vigorously, but only briefly. Lust, once satisfied, turns into cold indifference or raging disgust, as in the case of Amnon's lust for his stepsister Tamar. Oh, he wanted her so badly, but after he raped her, a cold hatred filled his heart. That's lust, not love. There's a close relationship between love and a pure heart. 1 Peter 1:22, having purified your souls by your obedience to the truth for a sincere brotherly love, love one another earnestly from a pure heart. Only a pure heart, which is free from the contamination of sin, can truly love. Why is this so? Jesus said, blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. Matthew 5:8, God who is love. To see God is more about knowing the God of love in a covenantal relationship than merely having a visual of God. We can know what love is only by knowing and being loved by the God of love. We can love the way we ought only when we are enabled by the God of love. But all this is impossible without a pure heart. And it is only by the blood of Jesus Christ that our sin-contaminated hearts can be made pure. And if you believe in Jesus Christ, your heart is already pure. You have the ability to know God and practice true love. And oh, what a costly sacrifice Jesus made for this. And what a wonderful privilege it is to know God, the God of love, and to love Him. Are you guarding the purity of your heart from the contamination of sin? Are you cultivating true love and practicing it diligently? True love also comes from a good conscience, Paul says. What is a good conscience? At the very least, a good conscience is a well-functioning conscience. Our conscience is supposed to be our moral compass. It urges us to do what is right, and it accuses us when we do wrong or praises us when we do right, Romans 2:15. Our conscience is where God's law, whether known through His special revelation or general revelation, meets our hearts. Our conscience is a subjective reflection of the objective law of God in our hearts. It is not perfectly tuned to God's law because of our fallen condition. Also, our conscience is not fixed. It can be shaped and changed by the mores of the company we keep and other influences we have in life. When we repeatedly sin, ignoring the encouragement of the conscience to do the right thing, turning a deaf ear to its warning against doing wrong and dismissing its reproof for our wrongdoings, our conscience gets seared and becomes insensitive to guilt, like a fingertip that is rubbed repeatedly against a rough texture. You know how that is. The first time we do what we know we are not supposed to do is the hardest. When we are trying to do that, our conscience yells from the depths of our hearts, "Don't do it! Don't do it!" But when we still do it, the scolding of our conscience is loud, relentless, and biting. But with each repetition, its voice gets smaller and smaller, to the point that our conscience doesn't stand in our way, even when we do something far worse. A silent conscience is a bad conscience because it's not doing what it's supposed to do, like a corrupt judge. For our conscience to function well, it must not be subjected to the scarring and hardening caused by repeated sins. A good conscience is an active conscience, urging us to do the right thing and commending us when we do it, and warning us against doing wrong and convicting us when we do it. What is it like to love out of a bad conscience? We may not love at all because a bad conscience doesn't feel the urge to love others. Nor would we feel guilty about neglecting others' needs and even hurting them. If we loved out of a bad conscience, it would be only when we felt like it, which can change quickly and drastically from hot to cold without any warning. That urge to love may come only at those rare moments when we feel guilty. And we know what happens when we love out of guilt. We overcompensate and end up spoiling others. Like those single mothers who have to work, who cannot spend time with their kids. And oftentimes they try to make up all those missing hours with money, saying yes to every whims and desires of their kids. Loving out of guilt is also how abusive people operate. They abuse others in a moment of rage. And when their anger subsides, they feel guilty. So they try to be extra nice with all their sweet talks and gifts. Not because they love others, but because they want to ease their guilt. But their guilty feeling is not deep or lasting enough to bring about a real change in them. When something else happens, again, they run into a raging anger. Oh, what a horrible thing it is to be caught up in such a relationship with someone who loves out of a bad conscience. I hope you can see how vital a good conscience is to love. We said that our conscience is a subjective reflection of the objective law of God in our hearts. A good conscience, then, is one that faithfully reflects God's law, even if not perfectly. The law of God is all about loving God and loving our neighbors as they should be loved. As such, it is an application of how we should love. But why do we need a good conscience if we have a pure heart, cleansed by the blood of Jesus Christ? If our hearts are pure, wouldn't we know what love is and how love should be practiced? Yes. But there's no problem here, because a good conscience is that part of a pure heart which shows us how we should love by reflecting the law of God. True love is more than just sincere love. True love loves rightly according to God's prescription. Paul also says that true love comes from a sincere faith. What is a sincere faith, and what does it have to do with loving God and others? To see this, we have to see that faith in the Bible is often contrasted with works, more specifically with works of the law. Faith represents the principle of grace. Works of the law represent the principle of works righteousness or legalism. Whether one's love flows out of a sincere faith or a legalistic spirit makes a world of difference, doesn't it? Imagine someone trying to love you with a legalistic mindset. He knows that he should love you, but has a hard time loving you because you are not perfect in his eyes. Unless you are perfect, he won't be able to say, "I love you." He sees too many problems with you to say, "I love you." And whatever feeling of love he manages to have will disappear the moment you make a mistake. Every breath you take, every move you make, every bond you break, every step you take, he watches you with a look of suspicion, disapproval, and judgment. He's just waiting for you to make another mistake or take another misstep, to explode on you with scorn and scolding because you made a mistake in the past and he doesn't trust you anymore. That would be bad enough if he did that with God's law. But no, he would judge you and punish you according to his own laws, his pet peeves, and his preferences. He would condemn you for wrongdoing when your way of doing is just different from his way of doing things. Like the way you fold your laundry and do the dishes, and which politicians you like or dislike. Even if he doesn't hate you for it, he gives you no respect because it is either his way or the highway. The foundation of his legalistic ways is his self-righteousness. Can you imagine what you must do to be loved by such a legalist? His love is transactional. You must earn it without any mistakes. But of course, we should examine ourselves to see whether that is how we treat the people around us. What then does love that issues from a sincere faith look like? Here, Paul is not talking about any faith that is sincere. He's specifically talking about a sincere faith in the gospel of Jesus Christ. It doesn't matter how sincere one's faith is if it is grounded in falsehood. If a person believes with all sincerity that Satan is his God, will he be able to love? If a person believes that loving others is how he gets to heaven, to be saved, will he be able to love sacrificially and selflessly? What is more, a person can have a good, well-functioning conscience according to his legalistic mindset. Oh, how hard and toxic his love will be. You see, we can love and we do love because God first loved us and gave us the taste of true love in the gospel of Jesus Christ. God's love, which we tasted, was not transactional. He did not love us because we were perfect. He loved us while we were yet sinners and sacrificed his Son for us. If so, can we demand others to be perfect before we can love them? Who are we to demand such a thing when we are imperfect in ourselves? Can we refuse to love those who are flawed and even sinful, as we are in the sight of God? Grace is God's love extended to hell-deserving sinners. So the time we should extend this gracious love to others is precisely when they messed up and don't deserve our love. This doesn't mean that we approve and celebrate their wrongdoings and mistakes. Love is not monolithic and monochrome. It manifests itself in different ways than just being nice, as the transparent light diverges into different colors as it passes through a prism. Yes, true love accepts, cares, encourages, comforts, and delights. But true love does not rejoice at wrongdoing. It alerts the sinner when he is unaware of his wrongdoing. It confronts when the sinner tries to hide his sin. It warns when the sinner denies and calls for repentance when he persists in his sin. But if we have love that issues from a sincere faith in the gospel of Jesus Christ, we will do these things with humility because we know that we too are sinners. We cannot act like a judge in the black robe of authority, sitting in his high judicial bench with a gavel in his hand, ready to pronounce sentences on fellow sinners. For a Christian who is saved by God's grace, to act like that is a truly disgusting and despicable sight, isn't it? Love that issues from a sincere faith doesn't spring from the sincerity of our faith. Because faith is not about itself, it is about what it believes. We don't just have faith, we always have faith in something. So the love that issues from a sincere faith is from experiencing the love of Jesus Christ, to which a sincere faith reaches out. What is it like to experience the love of Christ? If someone were to ask you, what is it like to experience Christ's love for you? Imagine someone who is totally out of your league. Maybe you had someone like that in your high school or in college. You could be with that person only in your daydreams. In reality, you did not expect that person to even notice you. But how would you feel if that dream came true? Somehow you end up having a meal together and it turns into a first date. For some reason, that person delights in you and is eager to have a relationship with you. After that meal, imagine going home after that first glorious date. You don't feel sad or jealous as lovey-dovey couples walk past you hand in hand. Your eyes don't wander when a good-looking person passes by. Your heart is so full of happiness that you don't desire anything else. You're humming happy tunes. Even if rained and poured, you'll be singing and dancing in the rain, no problem. The smog of loneliness and depression lifts from your eyes, and now the world you see is in the striking vividness of vibrant colors on an 8K monitor. That's how I felt when I experienced the love of Christ for the first time in my first Christian youth retreat. Talk about someone out of my league, Who was I that he should notice me? I just came to the States only 6 months prior at the age of 14. I didn't know how to speak the language. And I was a teenager going through puberty. And all the confusion, extreme self-consciousness, and insecurity that came with it. Nobody at school noticed me. At least that's how I felt. I was just a dumb kid who didn't even understand what people were saying. I felt like a loner, a loser, a perpetual outsider. And to hear that someone loved me to the point of giving up his life, and that someone was no other than the Son of God, who had all the right to judge me and punish me for all my sins. I sensed that he knew me better than anyone, even my parents. I felt completely exposed before him. No shameful thing I had done was hidden from his eyes. Yet he assured me that he loved me and all my sins were forgiven. I cried and cried for hours as I've never done before, even when my parents left me and my brother and came to the States, confessing all my sins and asking him to forgive me. And when it was done, oh, how clean and new I felt. The sky looked bluer and the trees looked greener. Right away, I began to see the people around me in a different light. The little things they did, which used to irk me, I could overlook as quirky and even cute. I felt pity for those who looked down on me and mistreated me because I knew that they had no idea what an amazing thing I came to possess now in Jesus Christ. I must confess that the freshness of that first love has faded away quite a bit. But that I have grown in my understanding of God's love cannot be denied either. If I may, the spring-like joy of knowing Christ's love for the first time has grown into a river-like gratitude for his love. But I still know that Jesus rebuked the church at Ephesus. But I have this against you, that you have abandoned the love you had at first. Revelation 2:4. And he called them to repent. I know that he has all the right to demand our first love. Even that spring-like joy. Because he loves us, because of the way he loves us. The steadfast love of the Lord never ceases. His mercies never comes to an end. They're new every morning. Great is your faithfulness. Our first love has to grow. But the vibrancy of our first love cannot be left behind. The aim of our charge is love that issues from a pure heart and a good conscience and a sincere faith. As individual Christians and as a church, we can do a lot of religious and Christian things. But remember what Paul, the Apostle Paul, said. If I speak in the tongues of men and of angels, but have not love, I'm a noisy gong and a clanging cymbal. And if I have prophetic powers and understand all mysteries and all knowledge, and if I have all faith so as to remove mountains, but have not love, I am nothing. If I give away all I have, and I deliver up my body to be burned, but have not love, I gain nothing. As your pastor, I must cultivate my love for God and for you. But I must also charge you and remind you to cultivate your love for God and your fellow saints. Let us not just do things because we must do them. Let all that we do have an undeniable fragrance of the wondrous love of Jesus Christ. To that end, let us treasure Christ and cherish his love for us. His sacrificial love has given us a pure heart, a good conscience, and a sincere faith. Yes, we are commanded to love. To love is not an option. But God doesn't expect us to love out of the bankruptcy of our condition. He who commands us to love fills us with his all-sufficient love. I hope that the Lord has reminded you of his love by this message, even in a small way. And I pray that he will so fill you with the abundance of his love that you will desire nothing for yourself except the desire to know the wonder of his love more and more, so that you can make it known to others through the labor of your love for him and others. Until that day when we shall drink deep from the ocean depth of his love and experience the joy of his love in loving all our neighbors as ourselves. Let's pray. O Lord our God, how we give you thanks and praise for the love of Christ. Thank you for his selfless, sacrificial love by which you have bestowed upon us a pure heart, a good conscience, and a sincere faith, so that we can love as we have been loved. Lord, we crave love. We want love, more love in our lives. But we have been disappointed by others. Only your love will not disappoint us. Help us, Lord, to crave it more than anything else. Because, Lord, you will not withhold your love for us, since you have given even your Son. And as we are filled with your love, Lord, I pray that we will love others as it overflows. The small boundaries of our hearts and our family into all the people that you bring into our lives. Help us, Lord, to start practicing that love. Even now, as we share our meal together in the Lord's Supper, and as we fellowship together in our lunch fellowship. We pray all these things in Jesus' name. Amen. As we come to this table, we are reminded of the message, the glorious love that God has shown to us in his Son, even as we heard about that love. Now we are given what theologians call the visible Word of God, the tangible signs of Christ's self-giving love for us in the bread and the cup. So, brothers and sisters, let us come to this table
with joy and great expectation that he who has spoken to us about his love is now giving himself to us in this sacrament through the signs of his body and his blood. And let us come with a yearning that this will not just be an empty ritual that we mindlessly go through every week, but as we partake of this meal by faith, that Christ will so fill our hearts with his love that we will not desire anything than the joy that is found in this covenant union with Christ. Let us pray for a life of fullness and abundance, so that we will not look to the world with envy and jealousy, but rather with the gospel compassion for the lost souls, and that we would be courageous enough and loving enough to share that love with those that are in our lives. So brothers and sisters, let's come to this table and open your heart wide to receive the love of Jesus Christ poured out for you in his life, death, and resurrection. For those of you who are visiting, I'd like to just remind you, this is incumbent on me as a minister of the Word and Sacraments to remind you that this communion table is a covenantal meal. It is only for those who have officially entered into covenant relationship with God. And you do that by professing your faith in Jesus Christ publicly and by being baptized into the church of Jesus Christ, which is his body.